With the CPP leaders in jail, the British expected that the convention would have a clear run to victory in the forthcoming election, but it was not to be so easy. By a remarkable coincidence, as Kwame Nkrumah entered prison, one of his most trusted lieutenants was coming out. Komla Gbedemah had completed a 6-month sentence and immediately set about repairing the damage to the party.
Well, I realized that somebody had to keep Nkrumah's image before the eyes of the people, and I felt that was my duty. To the extent that I had a life-size photograph made of him, which I carried as part of my paraphernalia, going around the country, erasing it and let people see, this is the man who is in jail. We must go on fighting. His body is in jail, but his spirits must go on.
Gbedemah had a genius for organization, and soon the CPP colors were everywhere, even on Self-Government Now dresses. Gbedemah reminded the people about their absent leader languishing in jail, and invented a new honor, the title of prison graduate.
Well, when I came out of jail, my father and Mr. A.Y.K. Jin were the only two people who met me at the prison gates. I didn't like that. So I thought other people who were then in jail should come out as heroes. And I organized the prison graduate idea.
Well, it was the equivalent of the old school tie. Those who had been in jail in association, in connection with some civil unrest or libel actions and that sort of thing, were qualified in the eyes of the CPP to wear a uniform. And that consisted of a white hat and a Northern Territory smock. And this was a very helpful image to them. It helped to sell the idea of a party which was prepared to sacrifice its leaders in the public cause.
The first few had maybe 100 people, but after the first 2 or 3, they came out in thousands to meet them. And we paraded the streets without a permit. We paraded the streets, and the government didn't begin to like the idea, so they thought they should stop us. But the nationalist tide was moving so high, they didn't want to do it by force. First, they thought they could leave the prisoner go sometime before he was due to come out officially. I remember the first instance, we went to his house. He had been left about 4 o'clock in the morning. We went and brought him to the prison gate and performed our ceremonies.
In February 1951, the election was called. Gbedemah organized the CPP campaign. The prison graduates drummed home Nkrumah's slogans. We prefer self-government with danger to servitude in tranquility. Above all, there was one clear demand: self-government now. Self-government now. The CPP campaigned in a new way.
They were prepared to sleep on verandas with the boys, popularly called veranda boys, because most of them were sleeping in verandas all the time. And when they went out to the villages, they trucked down together, sang their songs, drank palm wine in street bars, street corners with them, and virtually were prepared to throw their lot in with them at all times, at all places. Now this, Dankwa and others were not prepared to do. No, indeed, would they have been proved honest if they had attempted to do it, because it just didn't suit them. It wasn't in their character, it wasn't in their makeup, and they could not pretend to be with them in those directions without exposing their own hypocrisy.
The British believed they had introduced an electoral system that would favor the elite. In the country areas, members were to be chosen by the chiefs. In the towns, by one man, one vote. Election day was February the 8th.
I remember that night very clearly, even after 30 years. The crowds were milling on what is now, well, it was the old polo ground. There were thousands of people there waiting anxiously for the results. At about soon after midnight, the final results were known, and the CPP had won by a large majority. And the late Mr. Salloway, who was then the Chief Secretary, called me and said, Mr. Gbedemah, you must tell your people. So I, quite unprepared, I stood up and I said, now, at long last, the people of this country have spoken the language which the imperialists understand, the language of the ballot box.